is the Herd Line News.
Well, news on the Kyler Murray front has been a little quiet lately, but there were some rumors of a possible trade, and maybe the situation between the Cardinals and him remains unsettled. They're not really sure what direction they're going in. Are they going to give him an extension? Is he going to sit out? He does want a new deal, and he reportedly won't be too eager to play under his current contract, which would be $11.4 million in salary and bonuses in 2022. But what he is expected to be looking for is an extension a little north of what Derek Carr got this offseason. Derek Carr did, a 3-year, $121.5 million extension with the Raiders in April. Now, I hate talking about people's money, especially people who are obviously eventually going to get paid, because it's just kind of an exercise in futility. But it did seem like there was a little bit of animosity brewing between the organization and Kyler. There were some stories about if he's really a good leader and, do they know if he's the future or not. Kyler Murray's the guy. And this is why I maintained this the entire time with Dak Prescott, and I will do the same with Kyler Murray. You already know, if you're Arizona, what life is like without Kyler Murray.
Yeah, bad, not good, stinks, terrible.
You know that. You've walked that walk. So you don't want to go back to that lifestyle.
That is not a redeemable lifestyle. No. NFL team with a lousy quarterback situation. Not redeemable.
It's not what you want to sign up for. Now, whatever questions you have about Kyler Murray, I think an extension like this is very realistic. And this is what I think if you got, and Jerry's kind of talked about it, he wishes he had done the deal with Dak earlier. If you do a deal like this earlier with your young star, then you don't get put into a situation where you have to pay $230 million guaranteed, which is now the market for a top quarterback in the league, thanks to Deshaun Watson. Now, I don't think that Kyler Murray's in a position to necessarily demand that, but as I always say, you should probably budget to have to pay your quarterback. That's like the one position you should want to pay, because that means you have a guy.
Well, if you own a broadcast network that does sports, you have to budget for the NFL. Everything else you can live without. If you don't have the NFL, ESPN, Fox, CBS, you're not a viable sports network. So you have to budget for that. You may lose money on that. Okay, so the bottom line is, in this situation is,
it's a good thing to budget for.
Flip the telescope. So Arizona's saying, we'd like to pay you, but we'd like to do it after this year. Well, ask yourself this. You're not going to draft another quarterback as long as Kyler's there.
Correct.
So you got to pay him a little early. Is it really the worst thing to pay him early if you look at the gambling money coming in, if you look at the revenues going in? Like, to me, I look at it and think, because I think Arizona's a little worried about the hurt thing. Okay, let's say he misses 2 games a year for the next 3 years. Would you take Kyler for 15 weeks a year? Sign me up, because I saw the Josh Rosen thing for 3, and that's not what you want.
And there are so many good backup quarterbacks on the market now who were once former starters. Like, the level of backup quarterback that you can have in the building now and pay a reasonable amount is insane. Like, look at the backup quarterbacks. Mitch Trubisky was a backup quarterback last year. Like, that's a very high-level backup quarterback.
Right.
So it's not like you're going from Kyler Murray to someone you've never heard of before. Like, there are a lot of solid guys out there in the league and talent that can step in and win you and split that 2 games, which is all you can ask for from a backup quarterback.
Yeah, and I just think if you really like somebody, if you're really into somebody's skill, you're going to pay them. Don't lose sleep over when you're going to pay them.
No.
Like, Dallas kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And in the end, there was no value. They overpaid for him. Like, if you like somebody, and he's the closest thing to Russell Wilson in the market. He's Russell, but not quite Russell. Then there's not a duplicate. Like, go. You're not going to.
There's also one Russell Wilson. There's one Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
There's one Josh Allen. There's one Joe Burrow. There's one Justin Herbert. All of these guys are so different. There's one Lamar Jackson. This is a position. Forget paying for the corner and the receiver, and you should want to pay your quarterback. That means you have someone worth paying, which is what everyone is looking for. And that's a good situation. So the Celtics and Heat have game 2 tonight.
Yeah.
And they will likely get Marcus Smart back. He is listed as probable with a mid-foot sprain. Al Horford is still in health and safety protocols, doubtful for Game 2. The Heat will also be, again, without Kyle Lowry, who's only played 5 games this postseason, dealing with a hamstring strain. Max Strus and Gabe Vincent are also questionable for the Heat in Game 2. So we're getting to that part of the season where guys have put in the time, starting to get a little banged up.
Yep.
Other role players are going to have to step up for everybody. I mean, the injuries has been a part of the conversation in the postseason all the way through. Obviously, Chris Middleton, John Morant. So you have to balance your roster. This is why you want a deep roster. You're dealing with injuries. You're going to have to overcome it. Everybody has, and that's just what the situation is. You have this in every postseason. But this particular game, I think, is going to be on the lower scoring side. Right. The Celtics are going to come out with a lot of energy, try and limit the mistakes that they had in the second half. Likewise, the Heat, that initial first half in game 1 was a disaster. I don't think they're going to do that as well. I think it's going to be a defensive battle tonight. The Heat are favored by 3.5 in game 2, according to Fox Bets, and the Celtics just announced that Derek White will be out due to personal reasons. So it's going to be a lot of adjustments from the coaches tonight, messing with these lineups to make sure everybody's on the floor. All right, so we had a little moment on the show yesterday where we were discussing Luka Doncic and his. We assumed lunchtime. If it had been posted when it went on the internet, it would have been breakfast time. Now it appears it may have been dinner time beverage choices. But this picture of Luka Doncic went viral yesterday. He's having a beer with his coach Igor and Boban, and there was some debate when it was. It wasn't really actually confirmed before we got off the air when the picture was taken.
Right.
Well, a Mavs spokesperson confirmed to TMZ yesterday it had not been taken yesterday morning at 9:30 in the morning.
All right.
So we don't know exactly when it was taken, but it was not a game day beer. Congratulations to all the guys out there who were freaking out. I'm like, Luka, I have a beer on game day too. No, you're not. Luka's not drinking on game day.
A little early to get your beer on, but
Yes. Also, he's at the facility getting some shots up and, getting ready for the game. But that did not go very well for the Mavs yesterday. 20 points, the fewest for him in this postseason. 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 7 turnovers for Luka in game 1. The game wasn't terribly surprising to me. Again, I think these series will go long.
Yeah.
Game 1 usually goes to the home team, and Golden State's done this a time or two. So I still think it'll be a long series, but that was a rough start for the Mavs.
It was. A lot of missed open Jays. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And
none of the bowl. Bruce Feldman's going to join us next hour. That stuff is spicy, as Joy says. So here's a story. Baker Mayfield's still on the Cleveland roster. Baker Mayfield doesn't want to be in the Cleveland roster. The Cleveland roster now includes Deshaun Watson. And the NFL is down in Texas right now figuring out what to do with Deshaun Watson. A lot of variables. A lot of moving parts. Ian Rappaport suggested yesterday they need to make amends, and Baker Mayfield knows Cleveland is a place he should probably play. Now, Baker doesn't want to. Ego's hurt. And those Oklahoma egos are sizable. They come with a big chip on both shoulders. Baker, lose the Oklahoma ego. Go to Cleveland, play, and get a second chance. Because nobody wanted you. Seattle thought about it. Carolina thought about it. And they're both rebuilding. No good team is interested at all in Baker Mayfield. So your career is essentially in the toilet. You got some money. So do a lot of people. What do you want your legacy to be? Number 1 bust? Cleveland's roster is still good. Deshaun Watson's going to get spended maybe 7 to 8 games. I looked at your schedule this morning. You can go 5-2, 6-2 in that schedule, and guess what? You'll get a second shot. But more importantly, it will flip the narrative from cocky, ego-infused Baker to, that took a lot of guts by Baker Mayfield. I'll tell you, that kid put his ego aside. That's a team player. That guy is somebody I could build around. Because right now, all the narratives on Baker, he's one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the world. I think he's probably one of the top 25 quarterbacks in the world. But the narrative stinks. The talent doesn't. We know he's talented. The narrative in this league, I talked to a Jim about this. He's toxic. He's totally toxic. People don't even want him in the building as a backup. Too much snark, too much ego. How do you change that? Because your talent is what it is. At this point, you're not going to change your talent. And the good teams aren't interested. But you can change the narrative. So in life, change the stuff you can change. Go to Cleveland, ego aside, go perform, head down. And people will say, I always liked that guy. He can be a little much, but I think he learned his lesson. I could sign Baker to it. We could build around Baker. We give him a little bit of protection. Most of the stuff in Baker's life, he can't change. He can change the narratives. Sometimes in life, you got to eat a dirt sandwich before you get the Philly cheesesteak. Remember when Shaq and Kobe split up? Shaq went right to Miami and won titles. Kobe didn't have a number 2 until Pau Gasol. And so for like a year or two, Kobe sort of had to eat that. Shaq won the divorce. Just like Brady has won it. Maybe Mac Jones becomes great and then Belichick gets his turn. But the trading deadline is week what? 7, 8, 5 and 2. Suck it up, head down, be appreciative, perform, good team, good O-line, excellent weapons, great running game, nice coach. Joy with the news. No. Dallas had 25 uncontested three-point shots. They made 8. It was brutal. I've never seen a good team miss more open threes. But I said after game 1, Celtics Heat, I couldn't take a lot from Miami's win. They had 3 more days rest. They were at home. The Celtics lost